Hello, welcome to Misty and Me. I'm just about to organise my evening meal and I thought what a great opportunity just to show you how you can eat well for very little money. I like a bargain and I've done videos before where I've explained that in this country most folk tend not to eat cheaper cuts, and amongst those is obviously offal. And if it's something you've never done, never tried, let me suggest you give it a go, because not only will your shopping budget stretch a lot further, you'll make some beautiful, nutritional and gorgeous winter meals like I'm going to do now, which is a quick and easy liver and onions. So again, this is not a tutorial, this is just how I do it, it's the way I like it, and you can play with this. Always I tell everybody, when I was training young chefs, don't stick to a recipe, put in what you feel is right, and then it becomes your actual dish. It's not just the same as everybody else's. So sit back, get a cup of tea, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay? Okay, so for tonight's meal I'm going to do a braised liver and onion, and I'm going to use lamb's liver. It all comes down to personal choice. I like lamb's liver for several reasons. It's a tender liver to cook, you don't have to work hard at it. The ox liver and pig livers do tend to be a little bit stronger taste, whereas a lamb's liver is a much lighter taste and texture. If you are going to use ox liver or pig's liver, then it's not a bad idea just to rinse it and then leave it overnight in the fridge in a small bowl with some milk, and the milk will draw out some of the strength of this flavour, so that when you cook it, it is a lot lighter. Not as light as a lamb's liver, but it is a lighter taste. Okay, so to prepare your lamb's liver, what I've done, I've rinsed this in a colander, and then I've paper towel dried it, and then I'm going to, in this bowl I've got a small amount of plain flour, into which I've put some black pepper, some ground salt and a little bit of mixed herbs. We don't need a lot of flour, and we're just going to coat the liver before we go forward and cook it. Now if you don't want to touch it, obviously just use some tongs, and we're just going to give it a gentle mix round. Try and get all sides just dusted in the seasoned flour. A few small bits, you'll always get the small bits. I think when the supermarkets do this, they deliberately keep all the small bits just to get the balance on the weights when they're actually pre-packing it all, especially if it's all got to be of a certain weight. If you go into a butcher's, you tend to find that it'll be bigger pieces, and they will cut it down for you if you want it cutting down. Again, there's no need for any special skills, just give it a dusting, a nice coating, get all them little bits in, and then we'll be ready for the next stage. Okay. That'll do. And all we're going to do now is leave that on one side, and I'm going to prep some veg, which I'm going to speed up on the film, as you don't need to watch me doing every individual piece. Come back to me when it's all done. Right, I'm going to braise my liver in a wok. My pan of choice, because you've got the depth, it's a decent quality pan, and I know that I'm not going to burn the liver when I'm cooking it. Now, the two things to remember is when you first get your liver and you're ready to prepare it, leave it 20 minutes open after you've rinsed it, and let it get to room temperature. Because the problem is, if you don't, if you're using it and it's icy cold out the fridge, as soon as it hits the heat of the pan, all the sinews in the liver is going to quickly grasp. It's like you're grabbing, and it goes very tight, and you'll end up with a tough texture. Whereas if you allow it to room temperature and you cook it slowly, it doesn't take a lot of cooking, and it really is just a case of, I like to leave it on about a 20-30 minute simmer once I've cooked the liver and everything's in the pan with the gravy, just to give it a chance for everything to melt together and to blend together. So to start with, a little drop of oil, we'll get some heat going, and once we've got the heat into the pan, we can turn that down. Now, I like to put a little bit of butter in with the oil. The oil will stop the butter from burning, and the butter will give some richness to the final dish. Now, we are going to do the vegetables first, and then remove them from the pan, fry off the floured liver. So we're just going to pop the roughly chopped onion in, and I'm putting carrot in. Now, you don't have to, you can put mushroom in, you can just leave onion in. But I like the carrot in there because for me it gives a bit of sweetness to the actual gravy. So we're just going to allow the heat now to cook these down so they're soft, and without too much colour. We're not looking to get browned onion, just a golden tinge, and then once they're softened, we'll take them out and put the liver in. My favourite tool, I've had this old wooden spatula for years, and I know you can use wooden spoons and all the rest of it, but it's a go-to tool whenever I'm making anything in a pan, in a way spaghetti bolognese or a stew or whatever. So I'm sure we all have one of these go-to tools, but this is mine. Okay, let's turn the heat off a minute. We've got a little bit of colour, and we've now softened. Now, the oils and that's in the pan will mix with the flour that's on the liver, and that will give us our thickening in the form of a roux for when we add the stock, and my secret ingredient that I like in my liver and onions, which you might be a little bit surprised to see in a minute. And as I always say in all these cooking videos, experiment. Always experiment. And recipes are there as a guide, not as the golden rule. And as I said to you earlier, if you wanted to put mushrooms in this, obviously you could. There's no reason why you couldn't even put a bit of swede, a bit of parsnip. If you want a little bit of a sweeter, I call it sweeter gravy. Okay, now we're going to put the heat back on. And this is where we're going to add the liver. We don't want it too hot because we don't want to make the liver contract too fast. And then we'll gently fry that off for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now obviously there's a lot of liver going in this pan, and this would normally make me 2 meals, and I think it costs £1.33, so not an expensive dish. If you factor in the vegetables, including the ones I'm going to serve with the dish and the potato, it's going to come out at something like about £1.50, £1.60 per meal, and I've got 2 meals, so less than £3 for the 2. Okay, we're just going to let that now gently seal in the pan, and once it's had a couple of minutes on this side, I'll turn it over, and you'll see then it starts to change colour, and at that point we'll add the vegetables and the stock. Now I'm going to use a concentrated chicken stock pot. Some people do use beef, and I do think again it's a little bit too heavy a taste, but again this is a personal thing. I think the chicken stock is that little bit lighter, and it will complement the liver. Now you will see blood in amongst it. Don't be worried, that's exactly what you expect. It will cook out, and trust me, it will taste absolutely gorgeous. If this was smell-o-vision, I can guarantee the smells that's coming out of this pan, having cooked the onion in the fat first, is absolutely yummy. So come back to me in a few minutes when this is ready for turning, and we'll take it from there. Okay, this is now ready for turning. You see it's got some colour in it now. It's not been cooked harsh, so the colours from the flour, the seasoned flour that's on there. And when we put the stock in, all this goodness on the liver will blend with the stock, and as it braises, it'll thicken into a beautiful rich gravy. So we've just got to give it a few minutes now on the other side to do the same, and we'll pop some stock in along with the vegetables. Okay, this has had a couple of minutes on the second side, so it's now the time to pop these gorgeous onions and carrot in amongst the liver. I'm going to put the heat up a bit now because we're going to add the stock, and then within a few minutes I'll bring you back to this, and you'll notice how it's starting to thicken into a nice gravy. So we'll just add the chicken stock. Now this is going to evaporate down obviously as it simmers, and I'm just going to take you with me now for the secret ingredient. Now one of the things I liked about Freedom is it comes with its own optics. So we're going to have a 25ml of Jameson's whiskey. Now this whiskey in this bottle I've had in my possession at least 30-35 years, so I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere nearly 40-year-old. I have actually got some whiskies that are over 55-year-old, and I'm just going to put this small amount in with the liver. You can use a beer, you could put a little drop of wine in there. It just gives the gravy a little bit of a kick, so this is my choice. So in we go. That's my surprise ingredient. Oh, and this is smelling gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now all we need to do is leave this alone. I'm going to put it on one of the back burners on a very low light to simmer and to thicken. And a bit later I will plate up and show you the results. time to plate up what is going to be an absolutely yummy, very cost effective meal. So we've got now, anybody who knows me knows I don't do small portions, so do forgive me if they look a bit like I'm putting a bit too much in. I do save some for Misty. She has some of the vegetables, so they're not all just for me. Now this makes an absolutely fantastic autumnal kind of meal. I mean, yes, of course you can eat it all year round, but for a winter dish that could actually be cooked on your boat stove, because it doesn't take a lot of cooking, is something you really ought to give a try. And now we've got some absolutely fantastic braised liver, and I know all chefs say this gravy is out of this world, and I make no apology for putting lots of it on my dinner. And there's even a bit left there, which I might just wash the gravy off and let Misty have just the liver. Not an expensive dinner, but one that's packed with goodness and very easy to make. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this informative, and it will inspire you next time you go shopping just to have a little look at some of the cheaper cuts, because they are absolutely scrummy. Goodbye.